Hi guys, my name is Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Hi, my name is Emma. I'm also known as Spooky Astronauts here on YouTube. I do 2 new videos every single week talking about horror, usually horror movies, horror reviews, deep diving into some analysis, talking about a certain scene in a horror movie, interviewing a director. But today I'm here to bring you, I think this is my very first paranormal experience. I have done a video many years ago on sleep paralysis, but this this is a video that was actually highly requested since I started. A lot of people asked me to share my paranormal experience. I guess paranormal experience story times are a huge thing, and don't get me wrong, I love listening to them, but I never had anything to share. And here's the thing about videos, if you don't have anything to share, then there's no video. Many of you guys know that I went to the US last month and I did a video on all of the cool things that I found and picked up, all of the oddity stores I went through, and this video really stems from that. So I'd recommend going and watching that first. I'll link it down below, but it gives you a better idea of the stuff I went through. When I was in America, I had 2 very profound experiences. One is in the Zach Bagans Museum, which I will be talking about very soon in a video. That is something by itself. But this is about my personal experience in a oddity store in Seattle. That really opened myself to things. I'm a skeptic. I'm an atheist, and I'm also like a skeptic. I love the idea of energies, and of course I don't think that you need to be religious to believe in the paranormal. 2 very different things, being spiritual and being religious. And I've always believed that, you know, people are made up of many different energies of people who have passed, which kind of explains past life, and you know, energy can't be created nor destroyed, so where does that energy go when you die? You know, that kind of spiel. But I've never seen anything paranormal in my own life, through my own eyes, in a personal experience, until now. I'm also not a storytime channel, so bear with me a little bit. This is very new for me. I have to start off way back, actually 10 years ago, before I get into the story of what happened to me last month, just to give you an idea of the kind of things I've experienced in the past and how weird it was that I experienced this thing in the back of this oddity store in Seattle, because it made no sense to my history. As you guys know, I love traveling. I've traveled to some really cool places. I've been really lucky in my life that I've been given the opportunity, or like worked hard for it, I should say, to travel to some amazing places around the world. And I always stop in oddity shops or do tours. You know, I've done the Jack the Ripper tour. I've also been to Egypt, and I've seen some of the most crazy things. I can't even explain to you what is inside some of these tombs. Aliens are for sure real, which is another topic on its own. But I've definitely seen a lot of old things. I've seen a lot of mummies in my life, which definitely ties into this story. Anyway, let's fast forward to October this year, when I was traveling into Seattle from Vancouver, and my boyfriend and I, at the time, we didn't break up. He's my fiance now. Let's just clarify that. We were on this trip together, and when we do trips, we do non-negotiables, which means I have to go to all of the sports games, and he has to go see all the weird horror oddities or horror shops or whatever. So during this day, we were on the way to go see an American football game, and on the way we had decided we were going to go to this oddity store. The oddity store is called the Ye Old Curiosity Shop Seattle. And in this oddity store, you walk in, there's some really kooky kind of things that welcome you at the door, and it's quite a long store. It's quite big actually, and there's a couple of aisles down either side, and then there's all the way to the back, there's some more kind of display cabinets. So, you know, I was plodding along, having a look at all of the little bits and pieces. I get really into it. Love picking up stuff, touching stuff. I'm all into it. You don't want me in your store, trust me. And I believe I was looking down the end, there was some taxidermy, there's like 2-headed animals, all that kind of stuff. And as I was going through all of these oddity stores throughout America, I was sharing with some of you guys on Instagram. So what I kept doing was filming as I was going, like having a look at the store, then I'd film a little bit and have a look, film it, and then I'd upload it later when I was in Wi-Fi. So I didn't want to take away from the experience. I wanted to be in the moment, but I also wanted to share with you guys, because I know you guys find this kind of stuff as fascinating as I do. So I was walking through the back side of the store. There was a fortune teller kind of machine, and I was walking down. There was this strange puppet boy that I filmed. As I was walking around the corner, my partner Dean came up and said, "You're gonna want to see this." So I'm following him down, and I get to a mummy. And I mean, his stereotypical mummy. I was wondering how they got him into this random place in the middle of Seattle. A mummy just in the back of a store was very strange. There was a glass panel separating us. But what was next to him, I don't even understand how to explain it. The thing about these storytime videos is it relies on the storyteller to tell you how this experience happened and really creep you out. But what happened was more of a feeling. I'm going to try and portray it, but it was just the most insane thing to turn a skeptic on their head and have physical after effects. So we'll get to it. But I turned around and I saw the most terrifying, I feel bad saying terrifying, but it was so overwhelmingly scary, unnerving. The moment I looked into her face and saw her mouth gaping open, I can't explain it. I was just taken over by shock, really. And that was Sylvia. So I saw Sylvia for the first time. Sylvia is a mummy that lives in the back of this store, and the other mummy is called Sylvester. So I stopped and I took a moment and I read about her. There was a little bit of writing about the mummies in the store. And as I was doing that, I took a photo of her, and something happened when I took that photo. I felt like she reached out to me, but not physically, obviously, and not like she didn't talk to me, but I felt her. I felt like a tension between us, between me and her, me looking through the glass at her. I was staring at her and I felt like I had done something awfully wrong, so wrong. But I still gave it that moment to really latch onto me and, I don't know, tell me off in a way. It was very strange, obviously. That's why we're here. I just felt overwhelmingly awful. I felt so awful and weird and out of place, and it was very strange. I should also mention that this was around 10 a.m. in the morning, and we had just had breakfast. I was, full of food. It's not like I was feeling lightheaded because I hadn't eaten, or it was late at night and I had a few drinks. I was completely sober, and I was just staring at her, and something really strange just overcame me like a sheet. I felt like it was just me and her, and the tension between us was extreme. I turned around to move down the store. So I'm at the back of the store, and I turned around to move back to the front of the store to walk away from her. I'd taken my photo, I'd stared at her, I'd been creeped out, and I went to turn around. My legs started giving out. I started walking into the floor. Like when people pretend they're going downstairs or, down an elevator behind like a couch or whatever, I started walking into the floor. And I completely lost balance, sense of direction, but also it felt like the store was like on a slant, and that's why I was walking down. It was the weirdest moment. My partner was not around me at this moment. He was on the other side of the store, like looking at something, and I was completely taken aback. Obviously, I felt like I was walking into the floor, and I felt like maybe there was some kind of tilt on the shop or something like that. I can't explain it. My brain kind of went fuzzy, and then I just kind of came out of it. It was the weirdest thing that's ever happened, really. And I looked around, found my partner, and I was like, something weird just happened. I couldn't really put it into words what had just happened. I still can't. Best story time of 2019. All I can say is what she did to me in that moment was kind of like a punishment for taking her photo. It's very bizarre. Or I felt an extreme connection to her, and maybe in a past life or something we had beef. I don't know, but it was just not right, and I felt it in my very soul that it was not right, and I felt like she had taken my consciousness for that moment. And so when I walked away, my brain was staring at her, and my body was falling into the floor. I know, it sounds crazy, right? The reason I'm putting her picture in this video is because when I tried to go home and look her up, there was no one who had the same experience as me. And I feel like it's like a me problem. And her picture is still up on my Instagram. So I feel like it's okay. No one has said anything to me. And her picture's all over the internet. So it's definitely not a sensitivity thing. It's more of a me problem. But even looking at her picture when I was doing some research trying to find out about her, I can't explain it. Every time I look at her, I feel so unnerved and terrified, just absolutely terrified. She is this, I don't want to say that she's like so scary looking, but she really is, because I feel like it's quite offensive to a dead body to be like, you're really scary looking. But she's terrifying. She's absolutely the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in real life. Like, you know, face to face. But I do want to tell you a little bit about what I found out about the mummies in the store if you're interested. So there are two mummies in the store, as I said. There's Sylvia and Sylvester. According to the shop owner, Joe James, the year-old Curiosity Shop acquired Sylvia in 1970. He says that Sylvia is a white European female who died at approximately 30 years old, and her body was found in a Central American cave. She did go through a CT scan, and it was shown that her organs were all blob-like inside her body, which is the typical sign of an unembalmed body from what I've read. The CT scan also showed that she died of tuberculosis. But according to other sources, including atlasobscura.com, Sylvia was thought to be a young Spanish immigrant who succumbed to tuberculosis sometime in the early 20th century. So, I mean, these could overlap, but a lot of people say different things, but really not much is known about Sylvia. And I was really hoping to come home, look into this, and find some kind of reason as to why we were like, had a moment between us. But apparently there's nothing, which kind of makes me even more scared because the mystery is still very much alive. But on the other hand, Sylvester, the other mummy in the store, has been deeply researched, and he's kind of the icon for the store. He's on all of the magnets, all of the souvenirs. He is not scary at all. I don't think so. I feel like he has quite a warm feeling to him, and I didn't feel any weird vibes about him at all. But he has a great story behind him, so I do want to share that. Acquired in 1955, many believe that he was a victim of a shooting in the Arizona desert in the late 19th century. Some people think that the extreme dryness of that area and the way his body was mummified naturally showed that he must have been a victim in the shootout in Arizona. But this changed after CT scans in 2001 and 2005 and an MRI in 2005 that showed that an embalmer had injected the arsenic-based fluid shortly after his death. This actually preserved his body, and now he is one of the best preserved mummies found on Earth. Pretty insane. He's in this shop in Seattle, just like sitting behind some glass. But it gets even better. Recently, a photograph from 1892 surfaced that indicated that Sylvester, originally named McGinty, belonged to Soapy Smith until 1895. Soapy's history is very interesting, with 7 Western-type films featuring characters based on his likeness. He was an American con artist and gangster who became most well-known for his soap scam. Yes, that's right. I said soap scam. You really can't make this up. He had this soap type lottery where you would buy a bar of soap and there was a possibility that there would be some cash inside. And so he was selling these like hotcakes, and somehow it was just his gangster squad that seemed to get the soap that had the money in it. The soap scam. Unfortunately, out of all of this, I found out a lot more about Sylvester than Sylvia, and I really went into this to try and find out who Sylvia was, but there are no answers. But what I did find in my research is every time I saw her photo, I felt the same way. I felt completely terrified. Luckily, I didn't have any like physical reactions like I did in the store. And usually with these kind of things, I don't want to call her a haunted item, but you know, when people feel so strongly to items, bodies, whatever you want to call it, places, locations, a lot of other people feel the same. A lot of other people pick up the same kind of vibes or energy, but this one I am totally alone. And I felt like as soon as that happened, I kind of shut it off because I didn't really want to admit that it had just happened or what had happened. But looking at her picture, I cannot deny that something is seriously strange between us. This has never happened to me before. And after this, obviously, I went to the Zach Bagans Museum down the track. This was a couple weeks later, and that was a whole different experience. Not so personal, but just probably a little bit more intense, to be honest. But I will have a video on that coming up very soon. So please, if you haven't subscribed, please do. If you found this at all interesting, I tried to include some facts so it wasn't just my storytelling. It actually had some educational value. So please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this and you enjoyed me sharing my personal experience. I don't know how interesting it was. Hopefully it was a little bit. I love you guys so much. Thank you for hanging around, listening to me, And I hope you guys are having a great day. If you've had any experiences that were kind of one-on-one personal weird ass experiences with places, objects, people, whatever, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to read into it. I'm glad that I was able to talk to you guys about it, and I'm so glad I have this platform that I can share it with someone, because I'm going a little bit crazy here. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you very soon. Stay spooky. Not too spooky. Bye.